Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest, I'm going to introduce in a minute because she's getting her grips together because she was not expecting that kind of sound. But anyway, first, before I do introduce this awesome guest, I want to give two shout outs because I had a couple people ask me where this table came from. And I need to give a shout out to Rocco from Old Hickory Furniture Company, which also does all the furniture for the TV series Yellowstone. And also my brother and a good friend of his from On Point Welding and Fabrication and Green Line Plasma. So to those three individuals, thank you for making this beautiful piece for the Everyday GSD podcast. Now, unless you've lived under a rock for the last 30 years, and maybe 25, 30-ish, we don't need to date anyone here, then you already know my guest, but I'm going to give you a short bio on her. Her name is Kristi Lee. She is the co-host of the Bob and Tom Show. She also, besides being the co-host of the Bob and Tom Show, has an amazing story that we're going to unpeel in the next hour or so, but she's a volunteer. She serves on many boards, and I've got a little list here so I don't miss them. She's part of the Indianapolis Zoo Association, the Ascension St. Vincent's Foundation, the American Heart Association, Anna's House, Second Helping, the Tony Stewart Foundation, Indiana Children's Wish Fund, the Christamore House. She also is a big supporter in her hometown. She's volunteered for hosting many events for Visit Indy, the Heartland Film Festival, and Downtown Indy. I know you're looking at me and telling me to shut up, but I've got more. She's been featured on ESPN and ESPN2 as a sideline reporter covering lacrosse, auto racing, the first three X Games, and everyone knows I love fucking X Games. Oh,
that's okay.
I just said the fuck. I'm not.
You just said it again.
I did say it again, and you know what? I gotta stop for a minute because I talked to my mom the other day and my dad, and they said that I was cursing too much on the show, and I told them it's for ratings, and I lied to them. It's not for ratings. It's just how I talk. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. Thanks for watching the show. But back to you, Kristi. Let me keep going here. Sure. Featured, as I said, three X Games, which I fucking love the X Games. And she was a sideline reporter for the NBA Indiana Pacers. That's why our resident guest, Jonica, my lovely wife, is sitting in again today so she can sit here and watch you through her fake cardboard cutout while we drink wine and enjoy ourselves. And also, she, which I just found out, has been or inducted or will be inducted into the Indiana Broadcast Pioneer Hall of Fame class of 2022.
That's correct. In October.
In October.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a short intro, and I'm not going to lie, the intro is much longer, but this show's not about me, so I'm going to just let's open it up. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know you're extremely busy. What time do you get up in the morning to go to work?
4:30, depending the night before what's going on.
Right. Okay, let's get into it. So, Bob and Tom Show for how many years?
Officially off and on since 87.
Since 87.
It's a long time. That's like 35 years.
You know, we're going to back it up.
Men and boys.
Men and boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to back it up because
I've had many men and boys, but
I think this is going to be a good episode. For those of you
I'm just a half a glass of wine in.
I love it. And we've got plenty more wine, as you know.
No.
You know what? Listen, we're going to talk about the Bob and Tom Show, but there's so many things that you've done that I think people just don't know about. So I don't like to say onion. I don't want to unpeel the onion, but I want to back it up.
Sure.
Besides when you worked in a hospital when you were younger, what's your first job? You woke up one day and you said, you know what, I want to go in broadcasting. Like, how did this happen?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to be in the Air Force.
I love it.
I wanted to teach pilots how to fly planes.
I love it.
And I was at Ben Davis High School, and I was taking aviation courses. I mean, I was taking A&P classes, which is aircraft and power plant, and basic ground school. And I was working kind of at the airport occasionally. They would send us out to TWA, and we'd like work at the little counters and stuff. And I had a guy in my class my junior year, it was my first, right at my beginning of my junior year, go, man, you got to take Radio 1. It's really easy. And I go, all right. And so I took Radio 1. And
was it easy?
It was really easy, and it was fun. But I had no aspirations to do this.
Okay.
None. Zero. Zip. And I think maybe the only thing I ever did as a kid, and we probably all did this in the bathtub selling ivory soap or something. You know, or did you ever do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Stand in front of the mirror. Yeah. That was the closest thing I ever came to broadcasting or whatever. And then when I was a younger kid, like at 10 or 11, the morning show disc jockey from WIFE lived across the street from me. But I was playing with his kids, you know, they were just our neighbors. And to me, he was just neighbor Dave, but that's not who he was on the radio. I had no idea. I just had no idea. And so my junior year flies by and I enjoy Radio 1, Radio 2. I go into advanced radio my senior year, and the teacher, Dana Webb, who is responsible for everything I am today, he looks at me and he goes, "Kid, you got some talent. You should do this." And I go, "What? What are you talking about?" Nobody ever told me I could do anything really, you know? Okay. And I was like, okay. And I mean, I was pretty smart, which is why I was doing all right in aviation.
So he knew you were an everyday GSD person before we even started talking about everyday GSD.
I still don't think I'm a GSD person, but I am
really
impressed that you think I am.
Oh, believe me, it's an honor to have you here, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, and I don't want to even interrupt you, but for those of you who, like I said, live under a rock for the last 3 years and don't know you, really, you'd be normally talking to me or talking to the public on radio because that's what you do.
It's really hard for me not to ask you questions because I don't like answering them about me.
And I love it. So, okay.
So fast forward. Then my senior year, I started.
And this is at Ben Davis, which is
Ben Davis High School on the west side of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, thank you.
And my radio teacher actually got me a job when I was 16 years old, working at a local AM radio station at the time. WIRE AM 1430. It was a country station. I knew nothing about country music, but it was a great hands-on experience. We were first, second in the market at the time, right behind WIBC. It was a big station. It was very popular. So I got a really incredible, you know, on-hand learning experience. I didn't, you know, it was like, all right, this is kind of fun. But I still never thought of it as a career. I was going to go to college and, you know, like go to IU or whatever. And so it didn't even occur to me that this could be a career. And the summer before my freshman year in college, my radio teacher, once again, Dana Webb, said, "Hey, you should get this thing called a first class radio license from the FCC." And I go, "Well, what's that?" And he goes, "Well, first of all, very few women have it. You're smart. You can do this. And I think down the road, it's going to pay off for you."
So you were a pioneer to do this?
Kind of. And I said, okay, so.
No, for real. I mean, if there's only a couple women.
There are a few. I mean, there were women, but there were a handful of women, not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
Because it's basically an engineering license.
Right.
So I spent the whole summer basically sitting at his kitchen table, and we had some classes in class. We had a summer program. Went up to Chicago, took the test. Darned if I didn't pass it. So I go, okay, well, that's cool. And I hung it on my, wall and thought, oh, that's, neat. And then went to IU my freshman year. I hated every minute of it. Not that I don't love IU or don't love the Hoosiers, but I was ready to be out in the world. I was not, I'd already been working in the field I wanted to do something in, I thought. So I came back at Christmas and I said, I don't want to go back. And my mom goes, okay, get a job. Well, WIRE hired me back part-time. And then I found a job in the hospital you mentioned. And I was still taking classes because I was working at IU/Riley Hospital, so I could still take classes in the evening. And so I was still kind of dabbing my toes into that, I'll get a degree thing.
Right.
And then I got a phone call from WRTV and Channel 6, and they were a TV station in Indianapolis, the ABC affiliate. The gentleman said, I hear you have a first-class license. And I go,
absolutely do.
I sure do. It's hanging right here on my wall. And he goes, well, we're interested in talking to you about an engineering position. I go, I've never been in a TV station in my life. Not a problem. Just come down. And so went down, interviewed, got the job. And it was just for vacation relief.
And how old are you about at this
20.
time?
I was 20.
20 years old.
20 years old. And so I wasn't even 20. I was 19 because I turned 20 that summer. Whatever.
Yeah,
so
19 years old.
Yeah. So I go down there and I get the job, and it was just for vacation relief. And they go, if it works out, we'll, see if there's a full-time position. Well, needless to say, I stayed 7 years. So there was a full-time position. And I ended up working my way up to what's called a technical director, which is pretty much what Justin is doing right now, setting up, all the boards. I ran the board for all the newscasts, and, I could set up cameras and audio. I could do it all. It was really fun. But make a long story longer, I was still working radio.
We've got all the time in the world.
Yeah. I was still working radio on the weekends, and I'd moved around to some radio stations. I'm not going to bore you with all that.
No, so I have a question though.
Yeah.
So you're in this job for 7 years, and as I said, you're a pioneer, whether you want to accept it or not. I'm titling you that,
Okay.
Because I'm authority figure and I'm allowed to do that.
Sure.
It's a lie, but I can still say that. So being a female in, for lack of a better word, from my understanding, a very male-dominated industry.
Oh, I was the only girl engineer there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So-
With a bunch of old guys, too, because it was a seniority. It was a union shop. I was an IBEW local something union engineer. So there were a lot of old guys who did not take kindly to this little girl.
You just start laughing.
Who's this? I remember one of the first.
This girl?
I couldn't reach anything, so like the first day I worked, they made me a little stool, which I still have to this day.
That's awesome.
In my basement, because I couldn't reach. For anybody that's got any knowledge about TV, we used to have these big, huge 2-inch tape machines, and you'd have to reach. The routers were on top, and I couldn't reach them. So I had this stool that I would carry around in the back in the tape room. It was hysterical, but I still have that stool. And Otis, God rest your soul, he's no longer with us. He made me that stool, and he was my biggest. He hated me being there, and yet he came around after a couple of years and became one of my best
Biggest
friends.
fans.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch him change. But I worked hard at it, and I enjoyed it, and I liked it.
These, well, for lack of a better word, we'll call them these old men that aren't used to a young, pretty, smart, vibrant 19-year-old working with them.
It was something.
Yeah. Was there any problems that you had to put up with that you were able to change the mentality of them? And I don't need to get into where one guy slapped your ass one time or some shit.
No. And
I don't mean it like that by any means, but like, was there anything that you think you were able to do working with them where you were able to change their mind, where they're like, you know what? I'm glad she's here. I'm glad she's on our team.
Well, yeah, because I could do my job and I could do it well. And
Right.
I think they respected that after they could see that I could do the job. I mean, they didn't want literally a token girl, because
Right.
I'm not going to lie to you. It was 1980. EOE was big. I think he had to hire a woman.
Right.
And so these guys, I mean, it could have been anybody, I guess.
EOE stands for
Equal Opportunity Employer.
Yep.
Yeah, and this was back, all you young kids out there, this was way back. I mean, girls didn't have the opportunities that you have now. So it was just changing in that time period. And
Right.
so I was very lucky. I got in the door. But like I said, and I'm not spectacular, but I could do the job.
Yeah, you are pretty badass.
Well, I could do the job. And I think I surprised a lot of people. I don't
Right.
think they expected me to last through vacation relief. I really don't. I mean, those studio cameras are twice as big as I am.
Right.
And that's where I started running camera. I will never, ever forget. And I'd love to say this person's name, but he might still be around. I don't want him to sue me. But I walked in the studio my very first day, and I will never forget this. And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, great, another broad who thinks she can be in broadcasting." And right then I went, I'm going to prove this asshole wrong. And I did. And
Hell yeah.
I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"No, yeah, what?" He literally said that the very first day.
Yeah.
So,
Good encouragement. Yeah.
well, but this is probably going to haunt me for the rest of my life. I've never in my life felt like I couldn't do something.
Right.
And I didn't, my mom and I aren't the closest. She'll tell you that. I mean, I love her to death, but we're not really close, but she never, ever made me feel like I couldn't do something. And I
Right.
give her all the credit in the world for that.
Is your mom still alive?
Oh, yeah. And she was a
Nice.
single parent, and, it was just the three of us, my sister and my mom and I, and we lived in a trailer park, and she did, we never felt like, didn't want for things. We just didn't live in a house with bricks, is what I tell people. I mean, she provided, she was a worker, she worked hard. I saw that in her. She had a good work ethic. And she never said that, when I wanted to quit IU and go into this radio, she never said, "Oh, what are you doing? That's ridiculous." She
Right.
never said that to me. So I never along the way have ever thought, I can't do this.
She was there to encourage you.
Well, I don't know if encourage is the word, but she didn't
Okay.
discourage me.
So,
and
do you think by the way your mom didn't discourage you but didn't encourage you, did any of that reflect on, because you have two daughters, one's 24 years old, the other
yeah,
one's
and the other one's 20. Yeah.
20? Has that affected the way you encourage your children to do what they want? Or
Yeah. I'm all about whatever you want. I got one that's, she's still finding her path
figuring
and
it out.
figuring it out. And she
Yeah.
went to art school, and, she's, I go, yeah, this is your time in your life. If you want to move to Florida, move to Florida. Do whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
It's not going to get easier as you get older. You're going to have more commitments and more tie downs. Do it while you can.
Yeah.
No, I've never told my kids. And my youngest one is probably going to be president one day or something. So she's just a real, go-getter. And
if she's anything like you, she's got my vote.
Well, she's going to law school, so we'll see what happens to her. But
and then law school ruins her.
No, I don't think so. But I just never along the way ever. I had one trouble in Channel 6. I had a stalker. One of the guys that we worked with kind of, fell for me or whatever. And that kind of got to be a little awkward at work. But
well, it's interesting that you just said, you're like, he kind of fell for me. Instead of just being straight up, this fucking guy was a stalker.
Yeah, he was.
And completely crossed the line and was inappropriate.
He was, but he wasn't inappropriate.
He
was.
He was a fucking stalker.
Yeah. He would leave presents on my door at home and stuff.
Yeah.
It got creepy.
So how did we stop that?
Well, I didn't know anything about HR at the time. I didn't know
right?
No, I didn't know. And finally, I just went to my boss and I said, I don't want to cause any trouble, but this guy's really becoming an issue. And so HR got involved. Anyway, they gave him another position away from me and I didn't ever see him again. So that was fine. He didn't lose his job because, you don't know me, but I'm always, I don't want him to lose his job.
Right,
and,
you're a nice person.
I like to think I'm a nice person. So it worked out in the end. Nowadays, I would have sued him and won a lot of money, but I wouldn't have, but a lot of people would have.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I enjoyed my stint at Channel 6 very much, but I got a call from Bob and Tom.
For those people, like I said, that are living under a rock and are not familiar with the Bob and Tom show.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, the Bob and Tom show started at WFBQ Q95 in Indianapolis, Indiana in the early 80s. And I started working there about the same time, just a little bit, maybe 6 months before that, doing weekends. So I would literally work 7 days a week, and I would work at Channel 6 Monday through Friday. Then I'd work overnights at the radio station, and I would get off Monday morning, go home and sleep, and then go to work at 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
So you're working days and nights, and you're working 7 days a week.
Yes.
And she thinks she's not Justin, are you listening? And she thinks she's not an everyday GSD person. She's been everyday GSDing since the 80s, bro.
I just didn't.
Write that down.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. So anyway, they said, hey, we want to hire a newswoman and we think you might fit in because I would stick around in the mornings on Monday and we had some, chemistry is important when you're putting together a morning program. And
absolutely.
So I'm not going to, there were some ups and downs, but it ended up, that was my job. So I got out of television.
What was you said ups and downs. What was your best ups?
Oh, about Channel 6? No, yeah. I mean, it was kind of bumpy getting into full-time at Q95.
Okay.
It finally ended up happening and it was all good. So that started full-time in June of 1987. And it's been quite a ride, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's been quite a ride. But we circle back around because the radio thing, you were talking about how much you love the X Games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was talent on the X Games for 3 years. And the first year, maybe in the second year, whatever. I know it was in Providence, so it was the first or second year. I was doing street luge. And the technical director overslept. And I'm out there, mic'd up and everything.
All ready to go.
Yeah, and the director goes, we don't have a TD. And the producer goes, get Kristi in here. She can do it.
And a TD is a technical director.
Yeah. And every person on the staff was like, what? Because to them, I'm some blonde girl doing sideline, street luge. Yeah. And that was one of my proudest moments in my life. I walked into that truck, sat down in front of my Grass Valley switcher, which I'd worked on for, 6 years, and just went, doot, 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 and we didn't hold up anything. The show went on, and I gained a lot of respect that day, and that meant a lot to me because that was kind of a cool moment. That was a really cool moment. I've got to brag, but that was...
No, brag away. I love it.
Yeah, and then I was doing lacrosse one time, and our audio quit. I was on the sideline and I was we used to be in, if you're not familiar with box lacrosse, it's an indoor lacrosse. They use a hockey arena basically.
Right, yeah.
And so we're in, the, what do they call it? Penalty box.
Penalty box.
And I would interview the guys.
I spent a lot of time in a penalty box.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you play hockey?
I did.
Yeah. So I would interview the guys when they would come into the penalty box, which was fun, or the coaches on the sideline. I was in the box with them. Well, the audio goes down. And the director's freaking out. And I go, I got this. And they go, what? And I go, don't worry about it. And I'm like, traced it down. And we had a patch problem. And they were like, how did you know how to do that? And I said, I was an engineer for 6 years. Nobody remembers. Nobody knows that,
because they're not
I did that.
They're not looking at you like that. They're looking at you
as a blonde talent. And I hate to say that, a blonde female talent. And no, I wasn't.
You were blonde and talented and had fucking skills.
And I wasn't cute. I wore a baseball hat. My kids were looking, we were looking at old videos the other day. And my daughter goes, you actually went on camera looking like that? And I go, hey, I didn't want to have to mess with my hair. I wanted to do my job. I'm not Erin Andrews. I'm not going to be her anyway. So I made it, I had a different cute little hat for, whatever sport. And it was fun.
Yeah.
Before it was cool, I wore those Timberland work boots with skirts. Oh man, I was a trendsetter back in the 80s. Nobody realizes that. Well, this was in the 90s actually, early 90s. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
TV was a lot of fun.
So now you were doing the TV while you were part of Bob and Tom show?
Worked full time both.
Okay.
I would literally work Monday through Friday on Bob and Tom, catch a plane Friday morning. I'd go out and do events. And now for street luge and stuff, I'd take vacation if I had to do like a week at the X Games or whatever.
Right.
But I would just take my vacation days and then I would come back. And then, I'd always take a first flight home on Sunday morning. So I usually was back, by Sunday afternoon. So I'd get an afternoon off. It was all right.
That's all you needed, right?
Yeah. Why do you think I've been married 3 times?
we can get into that too if you want.
That's right.
You said nothing's off limits, but
I'm starting to sweat now.
Yeah. So let's talk about your job at the Bob and Tom show. So you're co-host.
Well, I'm news director, co-host. They give me a title of news director, but I do nothing but read what Tom hands me. So I don't really call myself a news director. I'm a news reader now.
Okay.
I used to be. But now I'm a news reader. But that's okay.
And you like it?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I look at it as I'm the straight man. Like I'm the one who feeds you lines for you all to make jokes about. So that's kind of my gig now.
Right.
I get it. I understand how it works.
Yeah.
Some people call me like the mama bear of the gang. Like I have to kind of rein them in sometimes or if you read social media, I'm a bitch and I hate everything and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Social media.
You can't let these guys run rampant. It would be awful.
It'd be awful.
Yeah, you'd be hearing poop jokes all day long. And how many can you take? I can't. Sorry.
So how long were you on the Bob and Tom show before because there was a little bit of a break, right?
Oh, you mean the recent break 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, from 87 to 2016.
Because I was doing a little homework.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't do a lot of homework because.
Why would you?
Yeah, I wanted to do the homework here with you. But the audience or the people watching the show really wanted you on the show.
Oh, well, that's nice. No, it's no secret. In 2016, Bob retired.
Justin, to hear that. She's like, oh,
that's nice.
They like me.
Yeah. So Bob retired in 2016,
right.
And I looked at that as, wow, what's going to happen to the show? And I thought, if I'm, like I just told you about my daughter, go to Florida, do your thing, you've got to do what you want to. I had never gotten out of that shadow, the Bob and Tom shadow. Does that make sense? And I don't, not that it's a bad thing,
right?
But just like I was telling you about being a television engineer, nobody really knows that. Nobody saw that person. So I've always been a co-host. I've always been the sideshow, the sidekick or whatever they call us. So I thought this is an opportunity for me to do something on my own. I want to try something on my own. So I decided to retire as well. So in February of that year, March, whatever, I started my own podcast. And I really enjoyed it and was doing very well. But the podcast industry still was kind of in a younger stage. I mean, even 6 years ago, it was still rather new.
Right.
And 6 years ago? Yeah, 6 years ago. And anyway.
And what was the name of the podcast again?
It was Kristi Lee Uninterrupted. It's still available.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah, because I'm always interrupted at work. So I thought Uninterrupted would be a great title until you have to try to spell it all the time. I can't. I'm not a really great speller, so when you're
nor am I,
typing things out uninterrupted, what was I thinking? It's long. And I should have brought you a T-shirt. I have plenty of them. Anyway,
I'll take one later.
So I did that and started exploring some speaking opportunities. Somebody wanted me to write a book. They said you can't do the speaking tour without a book, and I started to write a book, and I was like, I can't write a book. This is not going to happen. So then I got a phone.
If you decide that you want to write a book, the guy that helped me we say ghostwriter, we say collaborator, depends on how
Right.
you're talking. His name's Robert Conlon. He's in Maine, and the guy is amazing. So a big shout out to him if he's listening.
Hi, Robert.
But yeah, he's really good. I spent a lot of time when I wrote my book, Back to Bulletproof. That's not a plug because I'm going to do a plug later with you on that.
Okay.
But he did a phenomenal job, and he did so much research that it was at one point when we were right back and forth. We'd do interviews. That at one point when I was reading what he like corrected, and he would say like we're putting a house together, and you're going to help me get all the wood and the bricks and everything, and then I'm going to put it together and build the rooms, and then you're going to look at it and go, yeah, that makes sense, or that didn't happen. And I remember saying, I read something, I was like, this doesn't sound like me. And he was like, well, actually, that's exactly what you said. So I read it again, and then I reread it, and I was like, it's exactly me. I just don't want it to sound like me.
Right.
And then I realized, I was like, this fucking guy's good. So big shout out to him. He's in Maine, and we can probably put a little thing
that's
on the
awesome.
bottom of
Yeah.
the screen at one of these, however Justin and
A little font over it.
yeah, however Justin and Crumbling Creative and My First Bike Production does all this shit. It's going to be down here like this. It's right here. Anyway, so I've got a guy for you. So off air, I can.
I don't want to write a book.
I think you should.
decided,
I think
no,
your
no, no,
story
no.
is fucking amazing.
No, I don't want to
Sorry,
write a
Mom.
book. There are a lot of things I don't want to even go into, and I don't want my kids to read. And
Yeah, fair enough.
so I just don't think if I were to write a book, I'd have to leave things out that would be too important, and I don't think it's worth it. But anyway, so I didn't do the speakers tour, but I got a phone call and was very close to taking a job in Minneapolis, Minnesota, actually, when Tom called me and said, hey, would you like to come out of retirement? And I go, it's funny you would call. I just got offered a job in Minneapolis, and obviously one thing led to another, and here I am. So that worked out because, of course, that's my home. The Bob and Tom Show is my home. And I was happy to get back. But I proved to myself that I could do something. I could put together a show. And I did I had a producer, like you have Justin, but that was it. It was the two of us. And we did everything. And so I proved I could do it. And I think that's what I needed for myself at that time.
Right.
Now I'm old and don't care, and I'm just going to coast and retire soon. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because you're not retiring soon.
No. What would I do? I would not retire.
Well, I mean, I know one thing you would do. You'd be helping out the Indiana Zoo.
No, I would be on. I would be. I'd be at the zoo
The
all
American
the time.
Heart Association.
Yeah, I'd be-
And I have to read this because there's so many.
No, don't read them all, please.
Normally, when a guest comes on here, I'm like, and they also are on the board of directors for this, or
No, I'm really
they
only-
volunteer for this.
I volunteer for a lot, but I'm only on two boards, and that's the zoo and the Ascension St. Vincent for now. I have an interview next
and you
week.
volunteer for. All
I
the other
volunteer
ones.
for a lot of other
Yeah,
ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would do volunteer work a lot.
Just a couple of these, Justin. She just helps out on her spare time.
I like to do stuff.
Because there's only 7 days in a week, and you're like, I can get 8 days in.
No. I can be lazy, trust me.
I'm gonna call bullshit.
No, I did not get off my couch on a Monday recently, which was a holiday. I think Labor Day. I don't know when this is going to air, but
Right.
the day after Labor Day, I went and saw them. Here Come the Mummies. I highly recommend them. And I don't remember much past 9:30 at night. So the next day I was on my couch in pajamas day. Let's leave it at that.
Nice. But
Yeah.
you enjoy the day.
Oh yeah, do nothing? I never do that.
Yeah, because you deserve it, right?
Sure, we all deserve a day off. We all deserve a recharge day.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. But no, obviously Bob and Tom was great. I love my job. Over the years, we've done so many wonderful, fun events and things. And we were just talking about that. We used to do a live band show that was just killer. It was quite the production. And we'd go to all of our affiliates, not all of them, but a lot of the bigger affiliates. And, it was like being in a rock band, which of course was always one of my, I like to hang around with rock and rollers. Justin will tell you that.
Justin's over there smiling.
Smiling. Yeah. Yeah. I like live music. It's a very fun thing. I like entertainment.
What's your favorite live music band?
Now? Oh, God.
Or of all time? How about that?
Well, that's not a fair question.
Okay.
Is that the running joke on the Bob and Tom that you date all the bass players?
Yeah, and I only dated one bass player in my life who was a classically trained Berkeley musician on bass. It's not like he was in a rock band ever. And it was after the whole jokes. The only real rock star that I ever dated was in Kiss, and he was a guitar player. So, I don't know where that whole bass player thing came from. That was ridiculous. God. And it wasn't one of the first Kiss guys either. Well, everybody knows this by now, but yeah, I hung out with Bruce Kulick for about a year, who's now in Grand Funk Railroad, which is a fun band to see.
Right.
My favorite live band of all time. I'll tell you my favorite live show.
How about let's change it to favorite live show, and we'll go. Let's do recent times. We don't have to go back and.
Well, no, I saw tons of Kiss shows. I mean, I loved going to those, but
Right.
it was a different perspective. But I love live music, and theatrically, I cannot speak highly enough about Lady Gaga. I saw her show, and it blew me away. It was just true performer, and I enjoyed
where did you
that.
see that?
I saw her at Lucas Oil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
That's a great story because I had a foreign exchange student coming in from France, and she literally got off the bus at the high school. So this has been 4 years ago, maybe. Put her in the car, and I said, "You're gonna have to change your shirt. We're going to a concert." And she lived in a farm in France. This girl wasn't from Paris. And we went to see Lady Gaga, like third row, and she was just, her eyes were as big as saucers.
She's like, I love America.
Yeah. I said, welcome.
This is what we do on Saturday night.
Welcome to Indiana, honey. And I did. I got her in the car and I go, this is probably not going to be like most of your friends' foreign exchange student experiences because I don't really have a normal life. But she had a great time. In fact, I just saw her in Paris a couple of months ago. It was great.
And how long was she a student with you?
She was with us for 6-7 weeks, something like that. It wasn't a real long time.
Yeah.
It was fun though. I loved having her. At least I know she's not listening, but she's a sweetheart.
You never know. She might be listening.
She might be. I doubt it.
Funny story for you. So I was in Croatia with my wife for her birthday. And so I normally don't do tourist stuff because I've traveled a lot and I really don't like doing tourist stuff. I like to just go and do my own thing. But this time we actually had what do you call it? A travel planner.
Right.
So we had all this stuff set up. And anyway, one of the things that we were going to go see, we had a guide. And the lady was there and she's like, where are you guys from? You know, the generic bullshit questions she has to ask. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, America, Indiana. She's like, oh, where in Indiana? I was like, Indianapolis. She's like, oh, where in Indianapolis? I was like, well, actually, it's Carmel. And she goes, oh, do you know where Deer Creek is? I go, actually, I do. And I just start laughing. And then Jonica's like, how do you know Deer Creek? So she was a foreign exchange student, like 20 years ago or however long. And she was staying at, someone's house. And they were like, hey, there's this band called Fish.
Oh, gosh.
She's like, they're like, let's go. And she's like, okay. And she's like, we all got in these vans. And I'm like, I've got the visual.
Boy, this is nothing like a Lady Gaga show.
Yeah. And so she ends up going to this Fish concert, and she said she never witnessed anything like this in her life. And I was like, I go, there's Americans that have never witnessed anything like that in their life. But point is, here she is my guide.
Small world.
In Croatia. And she's like, Deer Creek. And I'm like, that's amazing.
I've always wanted to go to Croatia. Isn't it beautiful there?
It's so beautiful.
That's what I've heard.
It's
on my bucket list.
Yeah. After we're done, I can give you some places to go when you want to go. And it was like one of I don't want to say my favorite. Right now, my wife, Jonica, says it's her favorite place. But I never like to say something is specifically my favorite place because I feel like there's always more. I forget some places, but it was pretty cool. Like, it's definitely top 3.
That's cool.
And I said that the other day to someone. I was like, it's one of my top 3 places. They're like, well, what are the other 2?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
I'm like, I love Costa Rica. I like Bali, Indonesia. I mean, but I don't know if those are my top 3. I'm just saying it's really cool. And I recommend you, if it's on your bucket list.
Yeah, that and Greece. I haven't been to Greece yet.
Yeah, check that box. So let's talk about volunteering. How did you get involved with all these organizations?
I've been volunteering since I was in high school. I started as a candy striper.
You were bored in high school?
No, I started as a candy striper for personal reasons. I had a friend in high school that got ill with bone marrow cancer and was at Riley Hospital. And so I was at Riley Hospital a lot.
Can you explain candy striping?
Well, at Riley Hospital, we didn't wear candy stripe outfits either. I was so disappointed. It was like a green coat. It was so ugly. It was like lime green. I was so disappointed. I wanted the pink and white little pinafore, like you see in the movies. That doesn't happen. But you volunteer. There are different things. You work in the gift shop or you deliver flowers to rooms or my particular job was called materials management, which meant that I picked up things off of floors, like different floors of the hospital and took them, let's say you're on the heart ward and you've got blood work that needs to go to the pathology lab or something. And they'd call me and I'd come pick it up and I would take it down, that kind of thing. I had a little cart with a basket and I would,
All volunteering.
All volunteering. Yeah, I did that for a couple of summers. I enjoyed it. I love the hospital. And so that kind of, started my volunteer work. But there's so many benefits to being in my job. And I feel so blessed that I feel like I have to give back. Like it's just not right not to. I love animals. I love kids. So most of my volunteer work has something to do with those kinds of things.
Right.
And so especially, I could sit here and talk about the Indianapolis Zoo until you get bored to death.
Well, let's do it. Because I like the zoo. They have the big event once a year.
Zubilation, that's exactly
which
right.
Takes about 60 seconds to sell out.
Yeah.
So you either have to be really on your shit or know someone.
You know me now. But anyway.
I'm going to hold you to that one. You guys all heard that. Justin's over there make notes. Minute 35.
Zubilation tickets. Yeah. The zoo, our zoo is just an incredible place. A lot of people don't know that we're, not tax funded. We get no money from taxes.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're privately funded. So, a lot of it,
So all the money comes from individuals?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or companies, corporations.
That's why we charge an admission. A lot of zoos you go to, it's free at the zoo. Well, that's because your tax dollars are paying for it. Here in Indiana, your tax dollars are not paying for the zoo. That's why we charge an admission, and then we have a lot of donors.
It's not even expensive to go to the zoo.
No, and I'll tell you what, if you go even more than twice a year, a membership pays for it.
Yeah, membership pass.
Yeah, it's really great. And we've got some really huge things going on right now. If you've been out there lately, you can see that we're doing a new visitor center. We're going to move the entrance to the zoo over by where the butterfly gardens are. And we've added the Center for Species Survival, which is an international organization that has the top scientists in the world now in Indianapolis in our zoo trying to save our species, which is an incredible educational opportunity for our students locally and internationally. It's just a lot of great things are coming to the zoo.
Because people come to the Indianapolis Zoo from all over.
Yeah, they do. It's amazing how many.
Right.
We're one of the top AZA zoos in the country. It's just a really great organization. The people there are dedicated. They're the hardest working folks I've ever known in my entire life. And the well-being of the animals is, the most important thing.
Right.
It's such a touchy subject because people have some strong views about it.
Yeah.
We really are conserving species. We're out there to save species, not to put them in cages. No matter what you've read or said or heard, that's not true.
Right.
It's all about conservation, and it's working. We're about to do. There's another wonderful thing that the zoo's involved with that a lot of people don't know about. That I'm kind of on a high horse. It's called the Indianapolis Prize. And we
Indianapolis Prize.
Okay. And every 2 years, we give a big prize to a top scientist in their field. Last year, it went to, and I can't remember, of course, you caught me off guard, but she is the leading scientist for seahorses and seahorse survival. And it's just an incredible amount of work goes into finding these amazing scientists and biologists and, people that are out there doing the work in the field and, saving our planet, basically.
Yeah.
And so we like to honor them. We've had Harrison Ford has been here. Prince Albert of Monaco was our special guest last year. It's a really great way to honor those who a lot of people don't know are really involved in conservation. And the Indianapolis...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, nobody did. And
yeah.
I went to the prize last year for the first time.
And when is that event?
It's in September. It'll be September of 2023. And it's a gala, everybody has galas, but this gala is, and I'm on the committee for that too. So I'm really excited
I'm writing
about
that one down.
But no, the Indianapolis Prize is an amazing event. And it's these people that you meet are just incredible educators and science. These are like the brainy people.
So let's just say
I don't know why I'm in that room with them, but
so there's a species that's endangered, or because endangered is actually a term, but they're actually endangered. Or let's say they're
there's a scale.
Yeah, in jeopardy of being endangered.
Right.
So then the zoo tries to have them reproduce and create more of that species.
Right, or we help try to get money or, find money for some of these people that, like there's a big prize that goes with the Indianapolis prize, and that will go to help this woman with her seahorses and that kind of thing. And there's other grants that we're working on, hopefully getting out there in the future. But
so when I go to Zubilation and I feel like there's thousands of people there, and I don't know the actual number.
Right.
So the money
it's over 1,000.
Yeah, the money that they raised that evening, because I know like vendors are volunteering and and musicians
and it all goes for all of these things to help our zoo. It's our largest fundraiser of the year. It helps the zoo. It helps the conservation clubs. It all is.
And it's one of the coolest events I think Indianapolis does.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't mean the zoo, because I actually didn't know you guys had other events, and my wife probably does because.
We have a wine event you need to go to. It's
I'm in.
Really
Sign me
nice. up. Yeah, with all the wine you all have.
Yeah.
it's stellar.
So I did not know that. Justin, did you know that?
No, you should talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of good events. Yeah.
So like what other events are you having? So you do a wine event?
We do the wine event. We do Zubilation. We do Bibeau, which is coming up. And there's one night, October 1st, which is an all adult night, which is a boo and brews. Or brews and boo and brews, whatever. But it's a lot of, obviously, craft beers and costume contest, and it's a lot of fun. That's a real fun
And the
event.
grounds there are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a team of people that work.
I mean, they are legitimately.
Tirelessly.
'Cause I've been to a bunch of zoos around. Actually, one of the coolest zoos I ever went to was in Singapore. Because it's kind of weird. It's more of a nocturnal zoo. That's like you want to go there at night. Even though a lot of animals, everyone knows, and a lot of animals at a zoo are like resting during the day, but they're open at night, so like you can get to see them. And they don't necessarily have, at least when I went years ago, they didn't have cages. They were like these like little cutouts, so you feel like you're right with the animal, even though you're completely safe around it. So you're walking through, but like, and I'm going to make this up. You see a tiger like where Justin is,
right?
But like that tiger can't get to you.
Right. That's the way our zoo is. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's what I was going to say. I feel like the Indianapolis Zoo is, and I'm not comparing anyone who's out there is like who's been to the Indianapolis Zoo and been to the zoo in Singapore. They're going to be like, that's bullshit. I'm just saying, I feel like the Indianapolis Zoo is like, it's like an amazing zoo.
Well, it's trying to be, it's experience, and we're trying to make the habitat as normal to them as possible. And,
right.
Okay, so we talked a lot about this. But I would really like to get the Indianapolis prize out there a little more. That's going to be kind of my goal in the next year, too, because I was blown away by this event. And I'm not just saying that because, and I wasn't even, was I on the entertainment committee last year? I think I was. Just the entertainment, the way it's run, the people who do it are amazing. It's interesting. There are a lot of people doing some really incredible things on our planet that we don't know about. And when you see it,
so how do
like,
people
wow.
how do people apply for the?
Oh, just by tickets. Oh, you mean how do you apply for the grant? Oh, that's a whole different. You have to just go to the website, Indianapolis Zoo, Indianapolis Prize. I'm not involved in any of that.
They just go to the website and
Indianapolis Prize.
Would you say you're just the entertainment?
I just do entertaining stuff. I just like doing the events.
You like drinking the wine and just.
Yeah, I'd like to do the events. Yeah, I'm a good event planner.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah,
it's my jam.
So Bob and Tom show. Can we go back to that?
Sure, absolutely. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent.
No, you didn't go off on a tangent.
But you can tell that's one of my passions.
No, and I love it. And I'll keep talking about the zoo.
No.
You told me you didn't want to talk about it anymore.
No, Bob and Tom, go.
Yeah, no. Listen to her. She's good, right, Justin? She's like, is it warm in here?
Yeah,
Justin said that he wanted to turn the heat up for you to make you feel uncomfortable.
You want to make me sweat?
Yeah.
Is that it? There are better ways to sweat, my friend.
So 30-ish years, Bob and Tom show.
Yeah.
With a little bit of a break. So you're back at the Bob and Tom show. We kind of diverted off of that. So you come back and you are the co-host and news person. Mm-hmm. Doing this till we retire, or where's your head at? Where
am I going to go? Tom's got a 7-year-old. He's in this for a while. So as long as he's working, I'll work. It's not a big deal to me.
And people can listen to the Bob and Tom show all over the world.
Yeah. And we're on Armed Forces Radio, and we're all over the world in various markets nationwide. But I'm going to try this year for the first time doing the show from Florida in the winter. Yeah, I'm at that age now. It's like COVID taught us
some changes.
If COVID taught us anything, I can Zoom from anywhere in the world, right? So we'll see.
Would you pour me some wine, Justin?
Isn't there a bottle right there?
It's empty. I just looked. You drank it all.
Look, I still have half a glass.
Yeah, because you got filled up before I did. And I was like,
right.
My mom's like, Darin likes to drink his red wine.
Well, I hear she's not, well, never mind.
That's good.
Talk about
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Great experiences, worst experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Great experience.
Yeah. So because anyone who didn't hear Justin right now, because we're still
have a mic on
we're
him.
still trying to get a budget for the mic. But no, it's not true. We just haven't got to it. But yeah. So Justin just said,
best interview, worst interview.
yeah. So and let's talk about a couple of them.
What interviews meant the most to you?
Yeah.
All right, a couple have meant a lot to me. First of them. Boy, let me have some more red wine there. I show my professionalism here.
Williamson wine. This will do it to you every time.
Yeah. In 1976, one of my very first concerts was Peter Frampton, along with Yes, Gentle Giant at Balboa Stadium in San Diego, California. And I was
Balboa.
16, and it was my birthday gift from my Uncle Joe, who just had a birthday yesterday. And he's only a couple years older than me. And so Joe takes me to this concert, and I am like blown away. I had never seen anything like this Peter Frampton guy and became a lifelong fan. So to have him walk into the studio one day and perform live on our show, I don't get tongue-tied often, but boy, I did that day. And
Like starstruck, tongue-tied?
I was totally starstruck.
I love it. 'Cause I don't see that in you at all.
Oh, I was just like, oh my gosh, who would have thought this 16-year-old kid who saw this guy playing is now sitting as close as we're sitting right now, right? So
Which I'm excited. I'm this close to you.
oh, stop. So it was really, really cool. And he was so nice and friendly and just the greatest guy. And since then he's been on the show, 2 or 3 times, and I have his phone number now, and I know where he lives.
Face. She loves it. I love it.
And it's like,
I know where he lives.
Oh my God. Well, he just moved recently, and he didn't tell me where he's moving to. But anyway, it's because I was stalking him. No.
And when she says stalking, just for the record, she does not mean like the fucking creepy stalker that stalked her.
No. I
She's
wasn't stalking him.
Yeah.
We got puppies about the same time, and I'll never forget. He sent me a DM on Twitter, and he goes, "We should have the dogs get together and play." And I'm like, yes. Little drive to Nashville, though, but that wasn't going to happen. So anyway, that was really, really cool to have Peter Frampton become, I wouldn't say a close friend, but,
a good acquaintance.
but somebody I could talk to. If I were to pick up the phone and call, he would take my call.
I think that's pretty close friends when you're going to have a dog date.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen. Anyway, that was really neat. And then the other really big day for me, I was very pregnant with my second child, Sophie. So it was 20 years ago. And
I was going to say she's 20 years old. So
she just turned 20. Yeah, so it was right at 20 years ago. And Dolly Parton came into the show.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no shit. And she was only supposed to stay one break. And she is literally sitting next to me. Like, I'm like next.
Oh, my God. You just want to touch her? She's
just so damn sweet.
Yeah.
And so she's so everything. And once again, I got starstruck. But anyway, Dolly was sitting there, and she was only supposed to stay one break, and she was having such a great time. She ended up staying the whole morning.
That's awesome.
And she wanted to name my baby. And she was like, I've got all these. She goes, sweetheart, I got all these wonderful little nephews and nieces. What are you having? And I go, I'm having a girl. And she goes, and she just sat there, and she was like coming up with all these names. It was just the cutest thing. I dug up a picture for this because I did an interview recently for the Hall of Fame induction, and somebody wanted to see the photo, and I thought I knew where it was because I'd moved in the last 4 years, and I'd never unpacked some boxes, and I did find it. And I sat it out on the kitchen table, and my kids were like, you met Dolly Parton and never told us? And I said, yeah, Sophie, you met Dolly Parton too. You were right there.
You were right there.
But that was really cool. And then,
She named Sophie?
no, she didn't. But that was in the running. I mean,
Name she picked.
I can't remember.
All kinds of fun names, but who cares?
I was just.
You picked Sophie.
Yeah. That was a hard one. Naming kids is hard. That's one of the hardest things to ever do. Do you agree with me? You have a kid. You know what it's like.
That was
Yeah, boy.
only one point of contention me and Big Mama ever had was our son's name.
Oh, yeah. And my ex has dated every woman in the city, so no, I had a girlfriend with that name. I was like, okay, great. Okay, that was a joke. Anyway, kind of. And then the other one,
Kind of joking.
this is a great story that nobody knows about too. Bobby Knight was on the show one day. Bobby Knight scares the shit out of Tom Griswold. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. I have not seen Tom intimidated by too many people. Bobby Knight's one of them.
Did he throw a chair at him?
No. Bobby was great. But Tom was so freaked out about it. All morning he was, shaking and what are we going to talk about? And I hope he's in a good mood and blah, 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 blah. So they bring Bobby Knight in. It's the beginning of the break, and they bring Bobby Knight in. And I'm sitting there in the room by myself with Bobby Knight. Everybody else is gone because they're scared to death. They don't want to sit in there with him. And
you're more tongue tied with. I'm
not tongue tied with Bobby.
No, I know you're more tongue tied with Dolly Parton.
Shoot, yeah,
and then Bobby Knight comes in, which is a legend.
I don't care.
And you're like, come on in, Bobby.
I did. He
Have
sat down, and I go, "Hey, you been fishing lately?" And he just looked at me and he goes, "Kristi." And I first of all that he knew my name.
Yeah, of course he knew your name.
I don't like a lot of women. He goes,
shit!
But you put up with more shit almost than my wife. You're right up at the top of my list. And I went, "Thank you, Mr. Knight." He goes, "You can call me Bob." I go, "All right." We're friends ever since.
Let's do it.
I was like, what are you scared about this guy for? But I mean, he was great on the air once. They came back in and we talked. We had a great interview. But yeah, I was sitting there. I go, Bobby Knight, you're not going to intimidate me. But yeah, he was very funny. He was very nice.
I think that's amazing. You were not intimidated by Bobby Knight, but there's people that when they were like auctioning off chairs that he maybe threw, and people were paying I saw this is several years ago, paying thousands of dollars, excuse me, for these chairs that they might not even, it's not even potentially real.
And I think that's one of the things about my job. I know that my ex-husband hated this because he was in the business for a long time too. And I just you didn't get somebody to sign that? I go, no, I don't think that way. I'm not.
Well, I love that you're not starstruck.
Except for with Peter Frampton and Dolly Parton. Everybody else was like, all right, whatever.
And you've met so many cool people.
I've met some really cool people. Kid Rock was really cool. I know he's on Politically Correct to like right now. I never really knew him. And he came in live day. And he was awesome live day. He was so much fun. We've had Sean Lennon and Julian Lennon and like people like that. I mean, obviously John Mellencamp, friend of the show, known forever.
Obviously John Mellencamp.
Well, yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
He used to call in.
Not to mention the comedians.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. That's kind of a funny story because comedians are a different breed. Comedians that come on our show, and that's, we're known for that. Thomas loves live comedy and he loves nurturing comics. He loves that. But when they get really, really big and then turn their back on us, that's bullshit. And that has happened more times than I'd like to.
So it's interesting you say that because I was having a conversation with Justin recently. We were talking to a guy out in California and I was asking basically for him to handle some stuff for us. And it doesn't matter who, but at the end of the day, Justin's like, well, you need a bigger audience, you need this, and we can work on that. I'm like, you know what? If you don't want to work with me now, and then all of a sudden when I'm bigger, then you want to work with me, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either you're going to believe in what we're doing with the everyday GSD lifestyle, or you want nothing to do with it. But don't try to attach your caboose to my train when the train's already cruising down the road. What I want is like when I got to meet you, which by the way, I had an excellent time. It was so fun.
We had so much fun drinking.
We had so much fun. We had so much fun drinking.
Yeah, we did.
But when Justin's like, told me you were coming, I was like, oh my God. Like, so I wasn't nervous to meet you. I was more, I don't even know if the word's nervous. I was more, I'll say nervous, but it's not the right word. More nervous to kind of tell you about everyday GSD and hopefully you like understood what we were trying to do. And you were like, yeah, I watched the trailer. I love it. Yeah, sure. Let's have a drink. And when can you schedule me on? I'm like,
I still don't know why I'm here, but
I was like, she's the fucking coolest shit ever. And then, Justin continued to tell me more and more about you. And then obviously learning more about you. I'm like, holy fuck. Like you could be doing so many other things besides sitting here with me right now. But I think my audience and my future audience that goes back and watches this as the show continues to progress is going to be like, holy shit. Like you're talking about having key people on your show.
Right.
And I'm having you on my show at the beginning stages. We've been doing this for a few months now.
So you'll remember me when you're really popular?
Yes, darling.
I said that to Ms. Pat too the other day.
Darling. you won't be forgotten. We have a lot of wine to drink that's in the wine cellar at an undisclosed location.
Ms. Pat is a comedian that's becoming quite popular, and I sent her a tweet the other day. I DM'd her and I said, so are you going to remember me that one Thanksgiving when you and your husband were going to come over for Thanksgiving? And she goes, Kristi, I'm not going to forget you. And I go,
Yeah.
well, people do.
People
I'm
do.
just telling you. But then there are others like Jeff Foxworthy,
Yeah.
Brad Garrett. Brad Garrett's a lifelong friend. I mean, these people that I took Brad Garrett jet skiing for the first time out on Morse. That was a treat. He's
on Morse?
6'9". He's 6'9",
I had no
and
idea he
put
was
him
that
on.
tall.
I put him on a 3-seater.
Did you know he was that tall?
Yeah, he's a tall dude, and he's like, I don't even know if I can swim. I go, well, then you don't want to fall off.
Yeah,
That's
then
all I gotta
wear
say.
2 life jackets,
'Cause
bro.
You're not going to climb back up on this thing. But, there are guys like that would never forget us. But there are other people that, especially right now, that have gotten kind of big that are just like, hey, you started on our show.
Yeah.
Come on. And then there are other people that are wonderful, like Bert Kreischer. I've got great video of Bert Kreischer carrying me around. Have you ever heard of the wife carrying championships in Norway or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got video of Bert Kreischer carrying me around the studio doing that. It was hysterical. Like, Bert's always been a great friend. I mean, the comedians, that's a whole nother genre of the show that has been a lifestyle for us. And
Right.
for me, I'm so close to so many of them. And my podcast would, reflect that. I interviewed a lot of comics.
Right.
Mark Maron was one of my first guests. Mark Maron is one of those guys that started with us 30 years ago or however long, and he's never forgotten. I just saw him recently here in town and got to go backstage and say hey, and he was very, sweet and gracious. And, there are some people that don't forget where they came from, but
Right.
then there are others that, whatever. I'm not going to harp on that, but I love seeing comics up and coming and
Yeah.
doing well. And
What's your favorite comedian? And I don't want to put you in a box on that, so I should let me rephrase that question. What's your favorite interview or favorite guest that you had on that was a comedian that you truly had? You're like, you know what, this is a good human. I like this person, and I'm going to stay in touch with them, and they're going to stay in touch with me. And when I say stay in touch, that might be a text message or a phone call every couple years. Like, but they take it.
I know
They
what
take
you're
the
talking
call.
about.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if you're familiar with this person, but he's a magician / comedian, Justin Willman. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Justin is a great guy, and he did the podcast, and I really enjoyed speaking with him. And, he shared videos of his, when he got his wedding dance is worth watching on YouTube. Just Google Justin Willman wedding dance or whatever.
Justin Willman wedding dance.
It's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was one of those people that really struck me as a really great guy. Brad Williams. Do you know who Brad Williams is? Brad's a really great guy, really funny. I enjoyed him. Frank Caliendo, obviously, has always been a great interview. He was my last.
It was my last. She's like,
He was my last
little tear.
podcast interview. Yeah. Yeah. But
Do you miss
Frank's
doing the
good.
podcast?
I do. I miss being able to talk to people.
Like this.
Yeah, because everyone has a story. Like we were talking about, I want to interview you. I'll read your book, but I love to find out about people's
Oh yeah, there's
stories.
so much more about me than what's in the book, obviously.
Well, obviously. I mean, I wasn't special ops. Shit, I got none of that stuff. I've barely been out of the country. So yeah, I just love learning about people and people's lives. They fascinate me, and I enjoy speaking to and getting to know folks. But the day in, day out part of it was really stressful. And then when everyone started doing podcasts, if we got, with COVID, it would have been non-existent because we never had people in. I mean, I had a built-in audience. If Brad Williams came on the show to promote a gig, I could go, hey, what are you doing this afternoon? Can I stop by the hotel? And I wouldn't do video. I would just do an audio podcast. And I would bring my little duffel bag in and, set up something in a conference room or whatever and do a show, which was easy to do.
Right.
But now it would have it's just too stressful because I really wanted a show every week and I wanted it to be quality. And I just couldn't continue to produce that with no money coming in. Because I never made any money on the show. I mean, I spent, I paid a social media person, I paid a producer, I bought equipment, I rented room, because I had to rent my studio space. So it got to be a little pricey.
And one of the things that we're doing that's kind of a little different. So we do our show every 1st and 15th of the month. Obviously, we don't record them on that day, but that's when we release them.
Sure.
So I'm not having to do one every week. So we can kind of build up a few, as I say, like a little cachet, and then release them. So I think it puts less stress on me.
Absolutely.
And then obviously Justin with My First Bike Production, who is so graciously.
Well, he's hooked up. He knows a lot of people.
Yeah, and he's a good human. And then Cumberland Creative out of Nashville does a lot of social media and like editing with Justin for me. So
That's
fortunately,
great.
I've got a good team that's helping us. So it's not putting the stress necessarily on me. Because the truth is, I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing when it comes to any of this stuff. I'm like, one of these comes undone, and
I can help you.
And Justin, well, thank you. I might take you up on that. Justin's like, well, I'm making a.
Job is yours.
Justin's like, well, I am making a movie, and you know what?
No, but I also didn't have the video component.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about this. So it's a lot easier. And I didn't edit. If it went, it went.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like live to tape. Let's go.
Yeah, when we say we're editing, what we're doing.
I know you put fonts on and stuff.
Yeah, well, and we're just like making sure the camera's on
Right.
each of us because we're not cutting anything else unless you say, "Hey,
I'm not going to say anything.
I shouldn't have said that about your mom, Darin. So we're gonna cut that out." No, just kidding,
I didn't say anything about you, Mrs. Darin, I swear.
Mrs. Darin. No, my mom would absolutely love you.
Oh, you're kind.
Yeah. So who was like the guest, and maybe you can't answer that or shouldn't answer that you were like, this fucking guy or this fucking girl. Like,
Oh, Howie Mandel will never be on our show again.
oh, there
I
we
can
go.
tell you.
Maybe we can't say it. She's like, hell yeah.
Here's another
I
one.
didn't even finish the sentence. Are you kidding me? I love it.
Gallagher will never be on our show again.
Oh shit!
Is he still alive?
I saw
even?
Gallagher in Boston. It was like one of the worst shows I've ever witnessed.
Gallagher was an ass.
Yeah. And
Gallagher,
Howie
Mandel. I'm trying to think. Not to me, but to Tom. I don't. If they're assholes, I'm not going to get involved. Oh, I'll tell you who was really bad. We used to do a live day. We used to do live day from the studio, the Static Shack, which was really fun. And we'd have live bands, and then the Bob and Tom band would be there, and we'd do all our commercials live, and everything was live. It was a live day. And who's the chick that did Black Velvet? Alana Miles. Woo!
He's Google, isn't he?
Yeah. She was a horrific person.
Really?
Oh, my God. I
hope everyone listening to this is paying attention because we should not support the people that are assholes.
Oh, Alana Miles, is she, I don't know where she is now. God bless her. I hope she has a wonderful life. But she was totally not kind to us, and it did not go well.
Right.
The lead singer of the Lemonheads was kind of a jerk, too, but, get over it. Huh?
Now,
Evan Dando, yeah.
Google. See,
Yeah,
Google
I was
over there.
getting there. But
He's not even Googling stuff. He just knows it. That's
He
what drives
knows
me
it.
crazy. He's like, I'm going to put my laptop here in case I need to Google something.
Well-
And he hasn't Googled in every episode. I keep saying, hey, Justin. And he just has the fucking answers. He doesn't Google anything. And I'm like, Google that. And he's like, it's the answer.
well, I told him I have to go to trivia tonight, and I go, you need to join us. You have all that stuff in your head.
Oh, yeah.
man.
The problem, if you bring him to trivia, he wins.
No, he just said he finished last
That's
night.
bullshit.
He said dead last.
Nah, because he was.
Well, okay. No brain fogging.
Yeah,
but
he was filling out the sheet like. Wah.
those are the people that I can remember that really stood out. Man, oof.
Who haven't you interviewed?
Who haven't we interviewed?
Yeah, what would be your dream interview that you
My
like?
dream interview
Yeah.
or the Bob and Tom dream interview?
I would say your interview. Like I know you crushed the Bob and Tom show, but let's talk about you.
I have always wanted to talk to Cher. I think Cher would be an amazing person to have dinner with. I think she's had quite a life.
Do you think Cher's listening to this show?
I know her choreographer, so I could probably make.
Really?
So
I
Justin,
just
in
think-
case you can't hear Justin because he doesn't have an audio, Justin knows her chord.
Don't you think she's cool as shit? Like
I've never met her.
No, I've never met her, but I think her life is pretty cool. I mean, look at all the things that she's done.
Maybe Cher is going to somehow find out about the Everyday GSD podcast.
Maybe.
She's going to listen to this episode and she's going to go, you know what?
I'm going to call that Kristi Lee.
Kristi Lee's getting a phone call.
She's not going
And
to.
we're going to try to make that happen.
No,
we are. We really are.
Trying to think who else I would.
As I drink more wine.
Who else would I really like to talk to that I think would be fascinating? Boy, you put me on the spot. I don't think on my feet well.
I feel like you kind of do, though.
No, I don't. I really don't. I fake it really well. Not always. Who else would I really like to interview? See, this is just it. I don't get starstruck or like, but I've always thought, people always say, who would you like to have dinner with? And Cher's always been up there.
Well,
Who else I think would be interesting to, and now you guys, this is going to be, I shouldn't say that because it's kind of political, but.
No, it's funny you just said that because I was going to say before when we were having a glass of wine out there,
Right.
We were kind of loosely talking about like the political world. And I was going to ask you, is there someone in the political world that you would like to interview? Or
Monica Lewinsky. I think she would be a really interesting person to talk to.
Oh, I think so too.
And I know someone that dated her and said she was one of the sweetest, coolest women he'd ever known. And I just think she has done... She's handled some really tough situations in a very cool way.
Did you ever watch the series with her?
I did not.
I think it's worth watching.
I'll have to check it out.
You're gonna like her more than you already do.
Really? And I don't really know her, but I just think...
Again, I don't know her.
As a journalist, I just think her story is kind of an interesting one that it would be, if she'd really tell it, because...
I think, I don't know the name of that documentary. It's with, or it's not a documentary, it's a series.
Does she host it, or is it about her?
It's about her and her story. Oh. And
no, I just think that she'd be kind of cool to sit down and talk to.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else? My kids are going to be so disappointed because they want something important.
They've got a list of them, right?
Well, I don't know. Probably they'd say BTS. Oh God. I don't know. Those are two that just popped into my head. Yeah, I'm not really into politics. I'm not, when we talked about that out there, I don't really know how, this is going to sound so stupid, and I'm not stupid, but I just never was very not interested in history when I was in school.
Right.
I was an excellent student, and yet I just took what I had to get out of school, at government. What is that? What you have to take to graduate?
Yeah.
I just didn't really care about it. Now I am very into period pieces. I'm very interested in learning about former queens of England and France and that whole, 1700s. And I'm fascinated by that period. I don't know why. I always say that I was probably alive in that period at some time in France because I love going to France. I don't know. I've just never. So political people don't really interest me. And most entertainment people, I mean, let's face it. I mean, you're an actor. You're playing somebody else all the time, so you really don't have much of a personality to begin with.
Yeah.
Did I just say that out loud? But no, a lot of them, I mean, not
as
a lot.
Justin's trying to cast for his new movie.
No, but there are some actors, am I not wrong? If you've met actors, there are some actors out there that...
Look, he just went like this. Yeah. You guys, the cameras can't see him. Justin went like this.
Yeah, there are just some...
Okay, so young girls out there that are listening, and they're like, you know what? They admire you, right? They respect you. They love the journey that you've done and basically set the road for them. You've trailblazed so many things that a lot of these young girls that are trying to get into the industry don't realize or do know the things that you were able to do to like open up these channels for them. What advice do you have for them that want to get into the industry? Or young guys, but I'm specifically talking about young women because, I mean, let's face it, you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame here in a month or so, or by the time this airs, you probably already are. And there's very few women that have that opportunity, and you've earned it.
Thank you.
You've been doing this for, you know what? We don't need to put a date or an age on any of this because
I don't mind.
At the end of the day, you've been doing this for a lot of years.
Sure.
And you've worked in a completely male-dominated industry.
True.
From day one.
True.
Where you were, at day one, you were the first girl, the only girl working there. And then to an industry that's developed over the last 20, 30 years where now you host a syndicated show that's played around the world. And when I say your name, if I say, Kristi Lee's going to be on my podcast, or Kristi Lee was just on my podcast, people are like, how do you know her? Uh-oh. And I'm like,
I can't believe people do that.
Well, it's happened because I've been talking about you for the last fucking month.
Well, fortunately, we have a couple. We have two.
Haven't I, Justin? I'm like, Justin, how do I look? Is my hair? Do I wear a hat today? What do I wear?
I'm just happy we've added a couple girls to the show now, so I'm not the only one. It's a totally different world now. When I started, there was no Me Too movement.
Right.
There was. I survived by working hard.
Yeah.
And doing my job well, I think. I wasn't that great at TV. I look back at some of those videos and think, oh my gosh. I don't know. The producer must have felt sorry for me or something.
No, I doubt it.
But I did. I worked hard, and I didn't have the problems. I don't, maybe because this is going to sound so ridiculous. maybe it's just because I was an average looking person. I wasn't really hot, so nobody ever hit on me or anything. So I didn't have to worry about that. I just did my job.
But you did have a stalker. So you
I
weren't
had that, but
yeah. So
I mean, but you know what? I'm not an Erin Andrews or you know these girls are on the sidelines now. I mean, those girls are beauty pageant queens. These aren't, you know, and I'm not taking away from their talents. I'm not taking away from.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that.
But they're so pretty, and when I was coming up, it wasn't like that. You know, we were just working hard to get on camera, and you know, I know some very talented women that wanted to do what I wanted to do that weren't. And I, God forbid, they weren't pretty enough. And it breaks my heart to this day.
Well, it's interesting you say that because my wife, as you know,
is beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
She was a Indiana pace mate for, I always say 8 years. I think it was 6 years. She was captain of the team at one point. But when I told her you were coming on the show, I was like, do you know who she is? And she's like, oh, yeah. She was like all excited. And I'm like, it's interesting because it's the people that maybe you have touched throughout your career that you don't realize that you've touched them.
That's a very sweet thing to say.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's very nice of you to say because I don't feel like I've done. I mean, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job.
But I think that's the cool thing about you and your everyday GSD mentality is to you, you're just getting up in the morning, you know, just regular 4 o'clock in the morning because that's what you do.
You got to get the shit done. You got to do it.
And you just get shit done. And
I don't expect somebody to hand it to me. I don't expect somebody to just, you know, I'm not, the thing that really, my kid said something to me the other day that really, really was one of the best compliments I ever got. And I don't remember what we were talking about. And I go, oh yeah, I never got to do that. And they go, oh, why? Because you were working 3 jobs and busting your ass. And I go,
yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so sweet that they recognized that they understood that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but I enjoyed it and I was loving what I was doing. It to me, it didn't feel like work.
Right.
I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I guess that's what, find your passion. I mean, anybody, no matter what it is, you know, if you're blessed enough to do what you love doing and you have a passion for it, you've heard this a billion times. It's not going to be work, but it just kills me.
But it's okay if it's work, but just know that go there and work hard and get it fucking done.
And do your job and do it well, and you're going to get noticed. You may get passed over a couple times, and it may not be tomorrow, but if you do it and you keep, you know, I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole, but
no, just say it.
No, if you don't expect to be handed something and you work hard for it, A, you're going to appreciate it more, and B, it'll come to you. It may not. People do notice that. Like you were just saying, oh, we know. I don't see that because I don't walk around, you know, am I great? I don't want to know that. I don't care. But
because you get up and do the job and you do it every day.
And that's all I want to do is do my job. And if people notice it, that's great. But, and don't get me wrong. There are days when it hurts when you're, oh God, I did this really great thing and nobody noticed.
Yeah. But I think people notice. But I have to interrupt you because and I want to move on from this in a second. But I think people notice, and I think it might not be your boss that notices, or it might not be the girl or guy that's working next to you that notices. But people understand and see people who work their ass off. And again, I can speak specifically for you that you've been in this industry for a long time. And again, when I said that you were coming on my show, honestly, I was thinking I was going to have to explain shit, and people were like blown away. First of all, they're like, how'd you meet her? Did you get to see her? Did you talk to her? Oh my God, you had a drink with her? You were at 1933? Oh my God, what does she drink? This is true shit.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I was not just blown away. I was more blown away that you immediately, without we were one drink in, you're like, yeah, I'd love to be on your show. This show sounds great.
It is great.
And thank you. But my point is that I think you touch more people's lives than you probably know that you do.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you have 2 beautiful children. You said one is trying to figure things out and the other one's figuring it out. But at the end of the day, you've molded 2 good kids.
Oh yeah, they got great work ethic. They work hard.
And
they're
you've
doing the right
helped
thing.
so many other people that are not your children, whether they're young boys or young girls that are either in this industry or not in this industry. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. But yeah, just work hard, have integrity, be an honest person. You know, and yeah, believe me, you're going to have some setbacks and some stuff isn't going to go right all the time, but it'll work out in the end.
It always does.
Always does.
Well, first, before I say my final goodbye, I do have a little gift for you.
Oh, you already gave me a gift. This very nice wine.
Thank you. So I got a couple things here for you. And I have also one for your friend, Andy.
Yes.
Is that what I say? Your friend Andy? Or
My friend Andy.
Do I say he's your male
He's
friend
my
and your boyfriend?
Andy,
okay,
yeah.
this is for your boyfriend Andy. This is my
Yeah.
book, Back to Bulletproof. I think he's going to enjoy it, but I also think you'll like it.
Oh, I'll read it, of course.
Yeah, I think you'll really enjoy
Thank
that.
you.
And I don't have long arms, and we have a bigger table now.
Yeah, I don't have long
And then I
arms
also
either.
have an Everyday GSD T-shirt because I know you like T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
And that's for you because
Thank you.
you truly get shit done.
Right.
Put that right here. And then a coffee mug. And I don't know if you drink coffee. I didn't ask you. I don't.
I drink coffee.
Okay, I figured you probably do because you get up at like
2 cups of coffee and then a tea every day.
You get up when people are going to bed, so you're up that early. So a little Everyday GSD coffee mug, and then I threw in a couple extra stickers in there for you if you want to put them on a water bottle
Oh,
or a
cool.
laptop or wherever you want.
Thank you. I didn't bring you any.
You don't need to.
I'm sorry.
Your
Didn't know.
your presence is enough. But again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Darin. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, I had an absolute blast. I'm looking forward to having drinks with you off the air.
Sure,
and
anytime.
Continuing.
I want to meet your lovely wife.
You will,
Not
for sure.
the cardboard one.
Yeah. She's the resident bartender when she's down here. And she'll come and go, people, so it's okay.
Aw.
But no, seriously, thank you so much for being on the show. And
Thanks.
you're awesome. Thank you for everything you do and continue to change people's lives.
Oh, you're so kind.
You're the
Thank
best.
you so much.
Thank you.